What is up, guys? Welcome back. It is Wednesday evening, September 10th. We're going to be hanging out, going over basically any questions that you guys have for week two. I'll kind of go over the relevant player news and get you guys ready for tomorrow night and this weekend's games. It's Wednesday evening, as I said. We're going to go over some of the practice reports and basically let's use Wednesday nights going forward as a way to just kind of prime ourselves for week two. I will be going live tomorrow evening, 6:30 p.m. Central Time. So we'll get you guys live before the Thursday night game. And yeah, we'll have more news and updates and practice reports for you guys then. But good evening to Harris. Good evening to Jerry. Hope you guys are doing well. Harris coming in hot with I believe that's Aaron Jones or Deebo Samuel. I thought Deebo Samuel looked pretty good in that first game. I mean, he looks like a guy that kind of looks like his old version of himself when he was putting up mad points for San Francisco. So I'm kind of expecting Green Bay to play from a lead, maybe more passing for the Commanders, which would bode well for a guy like Deebo Samuel. I like Aaron Jones. I think you're pretty disappointed, though, if he doesn't catch that touchdown at the end of the game in the fourth quarter against the Bears. So to me, Jordan Mason looked pretty good. He's kind of in a 50-50 timeshare. I think I'm leaning Deebo Samuel here as a guy that I want in my lineup. I think both guys are probably pretty good plays for this week, but I'm going to give the edge to Deebo Samuel, who I'm thinking I got to double check my rankings here because I think I have Deebo Samuel ranked pretty highly for wide receivers this week. We did see the Packers, really make Jared Goff struggle and have to throw the ball 40 times. So there is a possibility that we see Jaden Daniels have to air it out tomorrow night. I'm just looking at my rankings real quick one more time, which, hey, if you guys are members on the fantasyfellowship.com, you guys can check out the rankings there. I uploaded them this morning. I got Deebo Samuel at wide receiver 32, so he's well within a starting, wide receiver 3 flex range. Aaron Jones I have at RB 25, so he's like a fringe RB 3 for me. So I'm going to lean Deebo Samuel here. And good evening to Jerry. Full PPR. We're benching 1 Pearsall. We trust Mac Jones, Hollywood Brown, and Rome Odunze. I kind of trust Mac Jones just because we saw him last year really feed Brian Thomas Jr. And at this point, no George Kittle. Maybe Juwan Jennings is out there. I'm going to actually look and see if Juwan Jennings practiced today. I think he did. I'm pulling that up right now. I have Juwan Jennings as DNP. So, I mean, there's a chance that Ricky Pearsall might just be the only receiver left for the 49ers. They're going up against the Saints, which we like that matchup quite a bit. I think I'm trusting Ricky Pearsall here. So it's going to come down to Hollywood Brown and Rome Odunze. I did not care for Caleb Williams passing downfield. I thought he was able to hit the running backs and the tight ends fine in the flats and the underneath stuff. But he did struggle to throw the ball downfield. Rome Odunze did catch a touchdown at the end of the game, which was a big boost. But if he doesn't catch that touchdown, we're looking at, 8 points PPR. So I think Pearsall ahead of Odunze for sure. And then it comes down to, Hollywood Brown against the Eagles, man. Is he going to get another, 10, 12, 13 targets, something like that? I'm probably going to end up – I'm just looking at my receiver rankings here. I think I'm high on Hollywood Brown. I'm actually not crazy high on Hollywood Brown. I have his name as Marquise here. I have them next to each other. Gut feeling, I'm going to go Marquise. I'm going to go Marquise Hollywood Brown there for you, Jerry. Jerry says, half PPR, start 1, Fannin or Kraft. So I do not, and this is something that I've talked about kind of all summer, and it's been one of my reasons as a Packer fan that I just don't love Kraft as my fantasy tight end, is the volume is just not going to be there. But I do have him ranked as my tight end 5 going into this game. I have Harold Fannin Jr. as a fringe top 15 tight end. So I think it's more likely that Kraft has a high floor, safe game for you. If you're feeling risky, though, I don't hate Harold Fannin Jr. in a game where I think the Browns are going to have to throw. But give me Tucker Kraft here, I think. Start 2, Harvey, Travion, Jordan Mason, and Tyrone Tracy. We're just not going to mess with Tyrone Tracy. I'm concerned. He got all the snaps and the routes that looked good on paper, but he just was not productive. I'm nervous about the Giants against the Cowboys here. So it's more so the top 3 guys in a half PPR league. I'll tell you what, I was pretty impressed with Jordan Mason. He was a guy that kind of jump started them in the fourth quarter in the second half and was able to kind of just establish some balance to the offense and get things back on track for them. And the fact that he carried the ball 15 times, he also caught a pass. Like there's a chance that JJ McCarthy is a little bit more settled in going into week 2 on Sunday Night Football. And Jordan Mason gets upwards of 15 to 18 carries in this one. So I'm thinking he's a relatively safe high floor guy. I like him for probably 8 to 12 points. If he gets the touchdown, that's going to be what boosts him. So I think Mason's a guy that I trust. I want to like RJ Harvey, but I didn't love the usage. They're going to use J.K. Dobbins for now, especially while he's healthy. So I think your best 2 bets are Mason and TreVeyon Henderson. Good evening to Frosty. Hope you're doing well, man. Fannin or Strange? Ooh. So I really like the matchup for the Jags this week, and I'm not saying that just because I'm a Jags homer, but I think there's good things coming for Trevor Lawrence in the passing game. We saw what the Browns were able to do with their tight ends last weekend. I think there's an opportunity for Brenton Strange to be a pretty nice high floor player. Fannin, again, I have kind of ranked as my tight end 16, 17, 18 in that range. I kind of want to see more before I trust him. I'm going to go Brenton Strange here. This one's pretty easy for me, man. Like I don't think it's close. I think we're starting Justin Fields until he gives us reason not to, because the rushing floor is just too good to ignore. He was hitting Garrett Wilson and some other guys downfield, making big plays in the air against a good Steelers defense too. Like, give me Justin Fields against Buffalo, which we just saw Lamar Jackson and company do whatever they wanted against Buffalo. Play 2, Ridley, Pollard, Charbonnet, Keenan, and Pittman. I'm going with Keenan Allen and Tony Pollard here, and I think it's pretty easy for me to make that decision. I don't have many worries about Keenan Allen, especially against the Raiders. That defense doesn't really scare me. Keenan Allen moved the ball. He got a lot of third down catches. He catches a touchdown. Herbert's willing to show that he's going to be a guy that can, flirt with top 5 QB numbers through one game. So I think I'm going Keenan Allen here. I like Calvin Ridley still on my roster, but we need to kind of get settled in with Calvin Ridley and the Cam Ward and the passing offense and such. So I have Keenan Allen up at wide receiver 26. I have Michael Pittman at wide receiver 35. Calvin Ridley, wide receiver 39 for me in the rankings this week. And then for the running backs, I got Pollard at RB 20 and Charbonnet RB. He's not in the top 25. So it's Pollard and Keenan Allen for me. I'm going to avoid Pittman against the Broncos. Caleb Williams against Jared Goff. I think for as much as Caleb Williams struggled to throw the ball downfield the other night, the thing that stuck out was his legs, man. He was so fast, avoiding sacks and pressures and just able to generate points with his legs. I think you're playing Caleb Williams until he gives us reason not to. 24 fantasy points last weekend. Jared Goff in that offense, man, we know they want to run the ball still. We think they have a good defense still. Jared Goff, I want to see it before I believe it, before he enters the lineup. He just offers no rushing upside. So I'm going Caleb Williams pretty easily here, Harris. And good evening to Random Posts. He's asking Caleb or Drake May. This one's really close for me. I have Drake May just a little bit ahead because it's at Miami. I kind of like that matchup better than Caleb Williams at the Detroit Lions. But if you have a good vibe towards Caleb, I'm fine with it. But I'm going to lean Drake May. I expect him to maybe run the ball a little bit more in this one, have a little bit more fun down in Miami. I'll go Drake May. He's my QB 14. Caleb is my QB 17. No, we're not trading Malik Neighbors for Hunter and Stevenson. I'm not doing that. Penix or Jared Goff? We did get some positive reports on Atlanta today. Both Drake London and Darnell Mooney practiced in limited capacity today, and the head coach basically said he expects them to be out there week 2. So I'm kind of leaning Michael Penix here. It is a tough matchup on the road in Minnesota, so I'm a little bit nervous about that. But the thing about Penix was his ability to run the ball was impressive to see last weekend. So I think he offers a just as high of a ceiling as Jared Goff, but he's got that little bit of a safe cushion. And as long as London and Mooney and Pitts are going to be out there, and he's throwing the ball to Bijan too. I kind of like Penix here. Let me look at my rankings real quick. I got Penix QB 20, Jared Goff QB 19. If you want to go with Goff, I'm fine with it. It is their home opener, but I'm kind of thinking I might move Penix up because I had to kind of, when I did my rankings this morning, I had to estimate that London would play and Mooney would play, but now that I have that data, I might be willing to move Penix up a notch or two. Harris or Sampson? Is that Najee? Who's Harris? If that's Najee versus Dylan Sampson, I mean, it's not close. Who else would Harris be? Who else would Harris be? Yeah, it's Sampson, pretty comfortably Sampson. He's going to get the receiving role. And good evening to Ron. Hope you're doing well, my man. Should I go Mike Penix or Drake May as QB2 this week? Hearing both London and Mooney practicing. I'm going to go wheels up for Drake May. Everybody's healthy. The offense looked good. They didn't perform quite as highly as we wanted to in week one. But I think the fact that he was able to support, a couple of receivers, he was able to support 3 receivers, Diggs, Booty, and DeMario with the touchdown. And then he's able to throw the ball to Travion. I think Drake May is looking like a pretty safe. I mean, he got like 15 fantasy points. I like his floor. I like the rushing upside. And I love the matchup against Miami. So give me Drake May. Good evening to Randy. He needs 2 running backs here. You got Walker and Charbonnet, so I like that. Sampson against Baltimore, Eckler versus Green Bay. And do you think Walker week 1 usage was injury related? I think part of it was injury related. Maybe all that time he missed in August in training camp, they're just like, let's ease him in. We don't want to blow the load here. But digging into the numbers a little bit, it looked like they simply rotated, like they were just rotating drives between Charbonnet and Kenneth Walker. And basically Charbonnet's drive led to the touchdown, so he was in there for the goal line work. Kenneth Walker, he was getting really bottled up too. He didn't have a great yards per carry day, so a lot of his drives ended early. Charbonnet lasted a little bit longer, but Walker did get their receptions, which was nice. I think it might be one of those hot hand approaches this weekend. I'm still willing to bet on Walker being the guy, but I'll tell you what, man, I have my most important league. I got Walker, I got Sampson, I got Eckler. I got a lot of these same decisions, my man. Tomorrow night, I think Eckler's going to have to be heavily involved in this game. If there's a pass rush from Green Bay coming in, if the Commanders are playing from behind a score or two, we're going to see more Eckler out there in passing situations. And we just saw Jahmyr Gibbs catch 10 passes. We saw David Montgomery catch 4 passes. This is full PPR. I kind of think Eckler provides a safe 8 to 12 point floor compared to Walker and Charbonnet. It's a tough matchup on paper for those two guys. And then with Sampson, kind of the same thing, man. Like they tried running Jerome Ford out there for a little bit, and they eventually just had to go with a full Dylan Sampson workload in the second half. And he showed really nice things catching the ball. Actually, I saw a stat today. He had 64 reception yards, but his yards after catch was like 98 yards, meaning the dude was catching the ball behind the line of scrimmage and just generating a ton of yards on his big plays. So I'm going to go Sampson and Eckler here, which is, it's week 2 when we're benching the Seahawks backs against the Steelers, but I'm doing this in my own most important league. I think I'm going Sampson. I think I'm going Eckler over Walker and Charbonnet because I need more data points on this Seattle backfield. I do think there's a chance Walker looks a little better this weekend. We just saw the Jets have a nice running day on the ground, but I'm going to go Sampson and Eckler. I just feel a little bit better about their receiving roles this week for their matchups. Oh, I'm gonna go Mark Andrews one more time, but hey, Gullies, good to see you. If you wanted to go with Fannin, I'm not going to argue with you. The fact that the Ravens scored 40 points on offense and Mark Andrews gets 1 catch for 5 yards is purely frustrating. But I think this week could be a better week for them, more balance on offense, hopefully for the Ravens. I want to see Mark Andrews and Rashad Bateman more involved, as well as all the other guys eat. I'm going to lean Mark Andrews here, but if you want to go Fannin, I'm not going to disagree. I have Mark Andrews ranked as tight end. It's my tight end 8, and Fannin still my tight end 18. Oh, Kraft or Diami Brown. Brown looked pretty good last week. He's the clear number 2 in terms of snaps and routes for Jacksonville in a game that we expect them to be behind and having to throw the ball. I think Dyami Brown's probably your ceiling play here. I'm going to go Dyami Brown over Tucker Kraft in a PPR league. I think he can get you, 4 for 80 and a touchdown maybe. I don't know if I see that for Kraft. Ron says we need Marvin Harrison or Laddie at flex PPR. I'm going Ladd McConkey. I'm going to go Ladd McConkey. I trust the volume there for Ladd. I trust Herbert more than Kyler Murray right now. It might be an uncompetitive game in Arizona, kind of like it was last weekend. Thankfully, Marvin got us there with the touchdown. But the Panthers are coming to town. I don't have a lot of excitement in that game, maybe more so for Connor and Benson. I'm going to go Ladd McConkey against the Raiders. We got Devontae Adams and DJ Moore. I'm looking to put Travis Hunter at flex. My only other option could be Pacheco, but I don't like the usage he's getting. Yeah, I'm going Travis Hunter here. It's a tough matchup for the Chiefs this weekend. I think they're going to have to be throwing the ball more, which could be more Kareem Hunt, another mix of Pacheco. I think, again, this Cincinnati-Jacksonville game, they're projecting 50 points in this game. So the Jags might have to play keep up and otherwise, maybe they're scoring a lot of points, and the Bengals have to play keep up. But I think you go Travis Hunter here over Pacheco. I think I'll sleep pretty good with that. We can maybe throw Juwan Jennings out as flex. I think with the injury, the shoulder, and just them traveling to New Orleans, Mac Jones, I'm probably going to err on the side of caution here. I would rather play Travis Hunter over Juwan Jennings, and I believe my rankings reflect that. Let's see here. Yeah, I got Travis Hunter up at wide receiver 38, right next to Jacoby Myers and Calvin Ridley. I got Juwan Jennings not even in my top 50 for this week. Yeah, dude. So I play in 5 money leagues. I got Worthy in 2 of them. And I hate week 1 so much. Week 1's my least favorite week of the fantasy football season. And not only did Worthy get us a goose, but he gets hurt on the 3rd play of the game. And it's not even his fault. It's Travis freaking Kelce's fault. So I hate that guy. This was something that we kind of saw coming. It was, the few preseason games that we saw were kind of like, uh-oh. And just all the things coming out of Miami, we were a little bit nervous. I actually have Devon Achane as RB14 in my rankings this weekend. I'm not super high on him. I think he's a guy that you're kind of worried about right now. If you can find someone to buy, I think I would start looking for options, whether it's Jonathan Taylor, James Cook, Kieran Williams, maybe James Conner, Bucky Irving, maybe Chase Brown. Like if we can kind of flip Devon Achane, I'm open to doing so because it just looks like Miami's going to be swirling down here. Now, I will say the Dolphins have some decent opponents coming up where things could turn around. This weekend, they're going to get the Patriots at home. I don't hate that game. They're going to get Buffalo, though, week 3 on a short week on Thursday Night Football. They're going to get the Jets. That could be a tough game. Then they get the Panthers. I like that game. They get the Chargers. That could be a high-scoring game. And then they get the Browns. So the schedule's not terrible. We're going to hold out hope for Devon Achane. It's clear he is their best player on offense. I just don't know if I see him rest of season as a top 5, top 10 running back that we drafted. Yeah, I mean, I think the underlying data is fantastic on Achane. The fact that he was able to get home for a touchdown, even if you remove the touchdown, if you still got 10 points out of Achane in that game, like this is probably as bad as it gets. Maybe we have a couple more bad games like this from the Dolphins, but the fact that he was able to produce in such an awful, terrible situation, I think does breathe a little bit of excitement. And maybe we got a guy that, we're just kind of panicking too early on. He is the Dolphins offense. He's the guy that's going to get all the snaps and the touches. Let's keep the candle lit for Devon Achane. Hollywood Brown or Cedric Tillman. I think Tillman's interesting. He's a big play guy, though. I'm probably going to lean with Marquise Brown being a volume guy. This is half PPR, so I get it. But he still saw 13, 14 targets last weekend. There's a good chance at a touchdown against Philly. They might have to throw the ball more in this one again. I'm going to lean Marquise Brown just because I feel safer with it. I do like Tillman, but they're really spreading the ball out in Cleveland right now. And yeah, that's the thing. Maybe Gullies, maybe we wait for, let's see how the Patriots game goes. If he balls out and he gets us 28 points, maybe we look to move him after like a high spike week. And like I said, the schedule coming up is not terrible for the Dolphins. They might be able to get this figured out. And sometimes the best thing week one is to just get your ass torn up and have to make adjustments and be better. So it might not be all that bad for Achane and the Dolphins. I do. The Packers defense is going to be a problem this year, guys. And I'm about as big of a Packer fan as you can find out there. But this Sunday was different, guys. They completely choked out the Lions. The Lions had no fight. And a Dan Campbell team, I've never seen that, where they were just like, they were overwhelmed and they had no heart or fight in that game to claw back in it. I was looking at the numbers last year. Micah Parsons against the Commanders had 4.5 sacks. And I just think the presence of Parsons, we're seeing big numbers from Rashawn Gary, Lucas Van Ness. The Packers defense has great linebackers. There's kind of just a swarming defense. I'm not saying to bench Jaden Daniels. I'm just saying Packers just might be a must-start defense the rest of the year, because week one, they were the best defense in football. Maybe the Colts against the Dolphins, but Kraft or Gesicki, this isn't even a question, Harris. Like, Gesicki shouldn't be rostered at this point. I think the emergence of Noah Fant there really hurts his upside. They also use another tight end. Like, they run 3 tight ends. Like, Gesicki shouldn't be on your roster right now. Even in a dynasty, it's Tucker Kraft, and it honestly, it's not close. Like, I don't even have Mike Gesicki in the top 25 of my tight ends. Like, sure, maybe he catches a big 20-yard catch and a touchdown or something like that, but it's just not something that I'm going to recommend betting on week 2 here after what we saw in week 1. I'm going to take a minute here. If you guys still have questions, keep them coming. I'm just going to read over the relevant player practice news from today. I see Evan Ingram was limited in practice, which is good news. I actually thought he was not going to practice today. So we'll hold out the candle for Evan Ingram. But like, if I have Evan Ingram as my starting tight end, like, I want Harold Fannin, I want Juwan Johnson, I want Hunter Henry, I want one of those tight ends, because it didn't look good for the Broncos passing game. And Ingram, he's not a full-time player, man. They're going to use other tight ends there. So Ingram is not a top 10, top 12 tight end for me. Jalen Waddle limited today. Darren Waller not practicing. He's not a part of our tight end plans at any point. Quinshon Judkins, let's talk about that. He did not practice today. He's expected to return tomorrow to the Browns. He went to the league officials in New York today to speak with the NFL. There's going to be a suspension coming out for Judkins at some point, which is why I'm kind of low on him, because that was kind of what we baked in. He's going to miss times from games. Just from not being with the team all training camp. And then there's a suspension coming. So I honestly, I don't know if he's going to play week 1. And even if he does play, he's not going to get a lot of snaps for us to want to start him. Maybe he gets a goal line touchdown, but I'm not willing to bet on Judkins until we see some data on this. So Judkins for me is not a guy I'm thinking about week 2. If you have him on your roster, let's see what he does on our bench, and then we can make an assessment after this game. I think it's wheels up for Dylan Sampson against the Baltimore Ravens. We just saw James Cook have a lot of big plays in the passing game, big running plays. Sampson's where you want to be. Tyreek Hill just can't stay out of the headlines for bad shit. The NFL has begun a review on the recent domestic violence allegations against Dolphins receiver Tyreek Hill. So we'll see where that heads out. Dude's such a knucklehead. Kayshon Boutte limited today in practice. I know a lot of people added him on the waiver wires. Michael Pittman practicing in full. Alec Pierce practicing in full, whatever. The big one today was probably Brock Purdy basically being ruled out already. Shanahan said that he's a long shot to play. So if you're in Superflex and you want to pick up Mac Jones, I suppose you can go grab him tonight if you want some insurance on your bench. I think Mac Jones against the Saints, it could be a nice matchup. We saw him play pretty well for Jacksonville the second half of last season. Just the 49ers are down weapons. It's basically CMC and Ricky Pearsall and a little bit of Jennings at this point. So kind of concerned about the 49ers' health overall. Ridley or Henderson? I'm gonna go TreVeyon Henderson again, man. He caught all 6 of his targets. He get mixed into the running game. It's against the Dolphins. I think they're going to be able to establish more of a running game with Ramondre and Travion, and just the fact that they're going to continue to use him as a receiving weapon. I think full PPR, yeah, I'll take those 6 points and the yards and the excitement that he creates over Calvin Ridley right now. Ridley's got a tough matchup. We just saw the Houston Texans offense get kind of suppressed against the Rams here. Let's give Ridley one more chance on the bench. Let's go with Hendo. Do I like Booty? We talked about Booty quite a bit last night. But my thoughts on Booty, I think he's an interesting guy. I think he is a guy that should belong on fantasy rosters for the rest of the year. It looks clear to me that he's going to be the starting outside receiver all year for the Patriots while he's healthy. But a couple things going against him. The Patriots threw the ball 46 times. I don't know how many more times we're going to see that this year, and we're probably not going to be able to predict those accurately enough to trust it. Stephon Diggs was working his way back. It was his first game. They wanted to ease him in, so we might see more Diggs this week. I think there's a chance that, Booty's going to continue to make a lot of plays on the outside. It just might be inconsistent. So for me, if you picked up Booty this week, I don't know if I want to throw him out there. If I have to, I'm fine with him as a wide receiver 3 flex, but I kind of want one more week of data points before we really trust Kayshon Booty. But I think the arrow is definitely pointing up. He's a guy that should be picked up in all formats, and let's see what he can do. I'll take Cole Kmet over Mike Gesicki. Cole Kmet did run more routes, more snaps than Colston Loveland by a wide margin. He made a couple big plays. I think that's fine. If that's I'd be curious, Harris, if you want to message me who else is available at tight end, I'd be curious to look at it. But for sure, Kmet over Gesicki right now. I didn't get to it yet, but Dallas Goedert is dealing with an ankle injury. Let me see if I can find it here. A knee sprain that his availability for week 2 is up in the air. I know he came out nice and caught 7 passes. I think right now Juwan Johnson and Kincaid are the better plays for this week. If you don't want to roster all 3 of these guys, I think you can let Dallas Goedert go. Juwan and Kincaid are going to be guys that we trust all year long. If you're in a pinch and it's a short-term thing, I think Juwan and Kincaid are the 2 guys that I want on my team right now. I do have Juwan Johnson fairly high. He's my tight end 16. I'm not super over the moon about him going up against San Francisco. I like that defense in San Fran. I like Fred Warner quite a bit. But Juwan dominated everything from the tight end snaps, routes, targets. He looks like a guy that can be used as a starting tight end in fantasy. I think, though, you have Mark Andrews, which I don't want to react to week 1 because you guys remember last year when Mark Andrews was just not very good the first 4 games, and then he was a top 10 tight end the rest of the way, catching touchdowns and all that stuff. We can't overreact to week 1. I think Mark Andrews will be fine. I think Fannon's probably the guy I'd rather have long-term over Juwan Jennings. I'm probably going to go with Andrews one more week and see what happens after this. And yeah, I think Brock Bowers is going to be fine, but if the injury seal is broken and he further aggravates that knee injury, we're going to get more reports tomorrow on the practice reports. But if there's a chance Brock Bowers isn't 100%, Harris, give me Michael Mayer over Cole Kmet over Mike Gesicki. I think Mayer's an interesting stash especially if you have Brock Bowers, you can just stash him. Something like that. But Meyer, for now, he looks like a good player still. Those guys are both kind of neck and neck for me. I've been a Calvin Austin guy for a long time. He's a guy that reminds me a lot of Wan'Dale Robinson and what he can do. But Calvin's got more of a deep vertical aspect to his game than Wan'Dale. And I think the post-game notes that I posted on the fantasyfellowship.com, Calvin Austin's the clear number 2 receiver. He's the locked-in guy for snaps and routes. I think Rodgers will probably feed him 4 or 5 targets per game, which I think are high-value targets. Rodgers isn't fucking around when he throws the ball, so you have a good chance at a touchdown almost every other week, and you're going to get these short area things mixed with some deep balls. Calvin Austin does excite me, but I'm going to give the slight edge to Booty here, but I think both guys are guys that should be on rosters. And then I like Romeo Doubs, but the issue is the Packers, man. With this defense, they just might throw the ball 20, 25 times a game. And it's going to be everybody catching 2-3 passes. I don't think they have an alpha that's going to be catching 7-8 passes each game that we're like, yep, that's the Packers' number one receiver. They're going to mix in Dobbs. They're going to mix in Golden. They're going to mix in Wicks and Reed and Kraft and Musgrave and all these guys. And then you got Christian Watson coming back. So I'm pretty frustrated with the Packers passing offense. As a fan, Packers are kicking ass. Frustrating for fantasy, but I do like Romeo. And hey, good evening to Mr. Nino. We're doing fantastic, man. How are you doing this evening? Kincaid or Joanna, man? I'm going to lean Juwan Johnson. I have Juwan as my tight end 16 and Kincaid as my tight end 17. I think it's a nature of volume here. I expect the Saints to be losing. I expect the Saints to be passing. It's against San Francisco. It's a tough matchup on paper. The Jets, in theory, though, are a tough matchup for Kincaid as well. I just think the Bills are going to have a little bit easier time this weekend than they did last weekend. Maybe not having to throw the ball 50 times, something like that. Whereas the Saints feel pretty easy to predict. They're going to need to throw the ball and get some volume there. Let me see if I got any more updates, news for you guys. No Wan'Dale Robinson at practice. It sounds like he's going to be fine. They're just giving him the day of rest. And I just want to reiterate, like we do this every year, but Wednesday, the first day of practice reports, the least important day for me. I care about Thursday and Friday. If my guy gets a limited in on Thursday, I'm feeling good. If my guy gets a limited day in Thursday and Friday, I feel pretty good about him playing. Wednesday is usually just a nothing day for me. So as long as we get Thursday, Friday in, I'm going to be pretty happy. I think Wednesdays across the board are pretty light, especially if teams are playing on Sunday. That's kind of like, hey, first day of install. Thursday is the big ramp up. Friday, we're kind of just getting ready again. And then Saturday, they have their walkthrough. So to me, Thursday and Friday are the two most important days for practice participation. But yeah, man, we have a lot of good stuff moving this week. I will be again live tomorrow night, 6:30 p.m. Central Time. If you guys want to hang out before the big game, I'll get all the player news and information and questions that you guys have. Rave, and good evening to Rave, by the way. My RB room is Kieran, Hampton, Henderson, Etienne. You look like the guy holding all the acorns right now, man. That's a pretty good running back room. You got. So my rankings for this week, Rave. Let's see here. We got Kieran at RB10. I got Hampton, RB16. ETN is RB17. And then Hendo, RB21. So you got 4 RB2s. Kieran's the RB1, but you got 4 startable running backs. So pat yourself on the back there, man. You have a stable of useful running backs. So pretty good with that. We're starting all 4 with Marvin Harrison and Jr. and Chase. That sounds about right. I think you're pretty happy with how this rolled out. I'm going to pull up a list of players that I just want to go over and see that, hey, maybe these guys are worth keeping an eye on. If they're on your waiver wires, let's keep an eye on these guys. I'm going to one of my deepest leagues here to see what's out there. These guys are all probably under 30% rostered, but we'll cover that here. Nino asks, how are you feeling about the Seahawks backfield? I think they're going to be fine. I don't think Seattle played very well. I think and we expect Seattle to be a decent team, right? To win 7, 8, 9, 10 games this season. And in those wins, we're going to see the running backs play better. We're going to see Sam Darnold play better. They have a good defense. That offensive line hopefully just continues to get better as the year goes on. I think the running backs will even out. And I just, I got a lot of Charbonnet shares. I have more Charbonnet shares than I do Kenneth Walker. I just happen to have Kenneth Walker in my most important league, and I want him to be good. And maybe I'm just being delusional, but I still think Walker's the better guy to own rest of season. I think this might have been a game where they're just easing him back in, making sure he's healthy with the foot. And it's probably going to be a hot hand thing for a little bit the next week or two to go forward. But Walker's catching the passes. Charbonnet got 2 more carries, and just looking at the numbers, they basically just rotated guys each drive. Like, this is Kenneth Walker. He gets the drive, touches. Charbonnet gets the next one. Like, they were just rotating guys, and Charbonnet just got the first look at a lot of those drives. And then he also had the drive that went to the goal line. So I'm going to going to not go doom and gloom. I'm not going to go doom and gloom on Kenneth Walker yet. I think better days are ahead for both backs and hopefully the Seattle offense as a whole. Yeah, man, I'm in a super flex league and I'm sitting there and I'm like, we get to the 5th, 6th turn and I'm like, Kenneth Walker shouldn't be here. God damn it. I didn't want to do it, but I ended up taking him. And then of course I get sniped on Charbonnet a little bit later because I wanted to lock up that backfield. But I still think Walker is going to be a guy that we're going to be happy to have on our rosters. Hopefully you drafted well enough. In the league that I have Walker, I drafted Samson, I drafted Jordan Mason, I drafted Austin Eckler. I have guys that I can start for Kenneth Walker until we see more data. So I'm gonna just pump the brakes. Let's not get to doom and gloom quite yet. I think he's an interesting guy that I think could be starting for us at some point very soon. So hold out hope for our guy. Yeah, I'm just going to shout out some guys that I think should be owned in deeper leagues here at running back. And my leagues are I play in some tough leagues, man. Kareem Hunt's out there, Kenneth Gainwell, Kendre Miller. Those are your guys probably worth putting on the end of the bench. Maybe Taj Brooks. If Chase Brown goes down, I think Taj Brooks is the next man up. Yeah, there's just not a lot of running backs out there for my stuff. But wide receivers, Wan'Dale Robinson, Kayshon Boutte, Calvin Austin, those guys should have been picked up by now. I think Kevontae Turpin's a guy that I'm open to being some big plays coming soon if Dallas opens it up. I think Troy Franklin's one of the easiest guys to pick up. He's only 1.8% owned in ESPN leagues, and he caught 4 passes. To me, he's the number 2 in Denver, and I think better passing days are coming for Bo Nix. So Troy Franklin's one to put on the end of the bench. I'm a little interested in Trey Tucker too. I thought Geno Smith in the passing offense looked pretty good. Malik Washington in Miami's worth a stash just in case Tyreek Hill goes to jail or whatever he's going to do, And then maybe Kendrick Bourne with the 49ers here. Tight ends, Juwan, Jonnu, Fannin, those guys should have been picked up by now. Isaiah Likely could be stashed. I think he's an interesting guy to stash. Dalton Schultz. The Texans just put Cade Stover on IR for the rest of the season. Dalton Schultz is the clear tight end 1. I expect him to be heavily involved. He's a sleeper. One more for you at tight end. I mean, we talked about Kmet, Michael Mayer. Yeah, that's pretty much it for tight end. It's pretty gross. Yeah, that's another one. Giddens was he's not even available in my damn league. So I play in 2 Sharpa leagues, but Giddens is one of the guys on my handcuff list that I feel pretty strongly should be owned across all formats, especially if you have a good running back room and you don't need him. Like that's where he fits in really nicely because I like to wait on those guys. And it's only week 2, but like we're going to be talking handcuffs all year long. And Giddens, I think, passes the test. And I'm going to say, hold on to Ollie Gordon. Don't let Ollie Gordon go just yet. I think he's still a priority stash play. But that's it, guys. I'm going to get out of here for the evening. Thank you for hanging out. Again, we're going to go live tomorrow, 6:30 p.m. Central Time. We'll go over the player news, any questions you guys have, and the practice reports. We'll get you guys set up for week 2. And I just want to say thank you. Check out thefantasyfellowship.com. I appreciate you guys all so very much. Have a good night. Peace.